The worst by far is Jaylen Turner. Low fight IQ Jaylen Turner. I swear, Jaylen, you are lucky I don't bet, because if I did bet, you would have to run them hands with me expeditiously. Would I lose? Absolutely. But for what I've seen, if I hold you down long enough, I might be fine. Jaylen Turner in his fight made it very clear that he was only fighting for that bonus, and that was it. It's a sad thing when you were so close to victory, but yet so far. And it looked, I'm not going to just outright accuse you, but it looked like you literally just quit. No, Turner didn't actually have the worst performance. It just made me very, very upset. Next up is Sadik Yousef. Man, horrible night at the office, but I can't really fully blame that on you. At least you were up against someone who we had really not much information on, besides he's a good grappler. I mean, his first fight was on short notice versus a top 15 opponent. That's not fair. I didn't put you in last because I do think that your loss will age excellently, because I do think Diego Lopez is very special and he has a lot of potential. Either way, keep your head up, Mr. Yousef. Go back to the drawing board and make the next person feel very sorry for wanting to fight you. Calvin Kattar, a lot of people are going to be disappointed in you, me included. And although, yes, it's understandable, we cannot all just put this all on Aljamain Sterling. You are the person that did not show up. I know you got this style where you got to build on your opponent and then find ways after that, but building takes way too long. We've seen that, especially against someone like Sterling. We've all watched Aljamain Sterling fight Peter Yan, someone who's known to build and get better as the fight goes on. I don't know what the problem was. There might have been an injury, a game plan was bad. It doesn't really matter, but I hope you know that everybody is going to fight you like this if they can. If they cannot beat you in the stand-up, but they have better grappling than you, they are going to fight you exactly like this. Even if they don't have better grappling than you, they will probably fight you like this. Not much more to say besides I'm disappointed in you, Calvin. I know you're a lot better than this. Marina Rodriguez was actually doing very good in her fight until she wasn't. Picking Andrade apart from the outside, showing her toughness, using her height and length in the way she's supposed to against a shorter but stronger opponent in Jessica Andrade. But she could not contain it long enough, and Jessica Andrade eventually took over. Cody No Love Garbrandt was actually doing very well in this fight. He easily won that first round by just staying patient, picking his shots and countering. He was very noticeably faster than Figgy, and that made it pretty easy for him to counter, I bet. But that flyweight grappling is just something different, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But good performance until the very end for Cody Garbrandt. Alexander Rockit also did good in this fight, winning the first round, landed shots on Yuri that would have definitely put down other fighters in this division. He landed a lot of good leg kicks on Yuri, but Yuri seemed to just ignore them and walk through them. He was pressuring Alexander Rockit like crazy. But at first, when he was swinging at Rockit, he couldn't hit anything. The head movement on Rockit was really good. He was staying out the way of danger, moving out the way, and countering. But Yuri just walked through it all, like I said he would in my prediction video. But eventually, the pressure from Yuri ate Rockit alive. But he's coming off of a layoff, so I gave him a little bit of leeway. He's a lot higher than he would have been had he been active. That's a really good effort for Rockit. Jim Miller, at 40 years old, went out there and did all he could do. He couldn't get past the jab of Bobby Green, but when he did get past the jab, he usually hurt Bobby Green. The thing that seemed to work best for him was the leg kicks and when he exchanged with Bobby Green. But man, at 40 years old, Jim Miller went out there and he did all he could. Toughness was on full display. I put him up this high because he's 40 years old. He's on his way out the door and he's still fighting. UFC 100, 200, and 300. I gotta pay my respects to a legend in Jim Miller. Look, okay, I wanted to be petty and put Aljamain Sterling a lot lower than this, but I couldn't. I couldn't because he won. It was an extremely boring but an extremely dominant performance, and this is kind of what I predicted was going to happen with Sterling. I knew he was going to go in there and he was not going to stand with Kattar. There was no way. But the way he did Kattar, nobody has done that to Kattar but him. I'm telling y'all, grapplers at featherweight, it's still kind of a new thing there. Not a lot of them are ready for grapplers. Aljamain Sterling is definitely an interesting addition to the featherweight division, though, and I can't wait to see what the featherweight division has in store for him. The former champion Jessica Andrade. I was petty to Aljamain Sterling by putting her above him, but then again, she kind of deserves to go above him as well, because she actually did stuff in her fight. I say that knowing how hard grappling is. She showed her toughness, and while being down and being picked apart by Marina Rodriguez at first, she decided to do what she was supposed to do. Get aggressive, get in her face, make it a dirty fight, close the distance on the taller opponent as the shorter, stronger, more powerful puncher. Not me running out of breath right there. Jessica Andrade also showed us some of that grappling, and I'm glad to see it. Good performance by Jessica Andrade all around. Definitely on to the next one though. It's crazy because Figgy was actually losing the beginning of his fight, and he decided, hey, I'm going to show y'all what that flyweight grappling is about, and it showed. It was a totally different level than bantamweight's grappling, at least from what Garbrandt could show. Outside of that, though, not really much to say about Figgy. Renato Moicano is a fighter's fighter. He is a survivor. He is probably your favorite fighter's fighter. Nah, but for real, he showed very good patience, and he stayed very cool after being dropped by Jaylen Turner and decided call an ambulance, but not for me. Because after getting dropped, he switched to that grappling game plan, and it worked perfectly for him. He controlled Jaylen Turner on the ground, and Jaylen Turner eventually, it looked like he really just gave up on himself. I'm not really sure, though. I'm not going to just accuse him of that. But either way, Renato Moicano, really, he broke Jaylen Turner, and he went on a post-fight interview and obviously gave us a pretty ecstatic one, like he always does. Now, in my opinion, Bobby Green looked great on the feet. He kept Miller at a distance with the 1-2, and he was just constantly picking at Miller from a distance. Miller couldn't get around it. Not only could Miller not get around his jab, cross, or a 1-2, he could barely touch Bobby Green out there. Bobby was as elusive as ever. But in this fight as well, Bobby Green showed the same weaknesses that he's always had. You can pressure him, you can exchange with him, and you can leg kick him. These are all keys to victory when fighting Bobby Green, besides just grappling him. But good performance either way for Bobby Green. Yuri Prohaska had low-key a great performance. He was losing to Rockit at first, and I don't know why it's spelled R-A-J-I-V, but it is, so it is what it is. But in this fight, Yuri showed that he can take a lot of damage and keep moving forward, which we knew that. He basically just ignored the leg kicks, but also showed he's very open to them, which we also already knew that. Yuri also showed in this fight that he is a lot more powerful than Rockit because they traded and it hurt Rockit a lot more, which is something because just how powerful is Alex Pereira? At the end of the day, though, that pressure from Jiri was too much for Rockit, and it basically just ate Rockit alive. Jiri is a absolute monster. I don't know who's next for him, but whoever's next, I feel sorry for them. Obviously, number one goes to Diego Lopez, 24-6, debuted against freaking Mavzar Evloev and lost, but came back with quick wins and then comes on the UFC 300 card and makes quick work of Sadik Yousef. This man's power is no longer questionable. Diego Lopez is a power puncher. I'm just glazing. Not for real though, Diego Lopez is absolutely phenomenal. This man has so much potential that it's basically radiating off of him. Diego Lopez really does just bring surprise after surprise, doesn't he? He's just crazy. I can't wait to see what the future holds for this man because it looks so bright.